What's going on, Bucs fans? Back here for another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, JC Allen. We were going to get into training camp battles on the offense and defense side of the ball because there's a lot of juicy competitions coming up, especially, wide receiver, cornerback. We'll get into all that and more. But breaking news today, not in the best kind. Tristan Wirfs injured, re-aggravated his knee, had to go into surgery. Could miss the start of the season. Well, it's not looking good. We'll talk about that, the history of the injury, what happened, why wasn't it done earlier, who's going to replace him, and what that means for the offense going forward, and all that and more on the other side.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
Back here on the other side, on another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, JC, I'm your host. Want to take a quick shout to say what up to everybody on Twitter, on YouTube. Drop the comments, ask me your questions. Tell me how you're feeling about this. Is the season lost? Are the Bucs still Super Bowl contenders, possibly without Tristan Wirfs for the first half of the season or first quarter of the season? What are your thoughts? Let me know. While you're doing that, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when we go live. If you're on Twitter, pop over to YouTube real quick, like, subscribe as well. And everyone listening to audio format, appreciate y'all as always. So big news today: Tristan Wirfs is down and out. Unfortunate incident with his knee. It looks like it is going to be, and we brought this up too. We brought this up through minicamp and just Tristan Wirfs wearing a knee brace. Didn't think of anything of it. We asked Todd Bowles. He's like, it's mini camp, we're just being taking precautionary measures. But today, Rick Stroud, about 8 hours ago, 11 o'clock, 10:30, posted the Bucs will start the season without all-pro tackle Tristan Wirfs, who underwent surgery on his right knee Tuesday and will likely miss at least the first couple of games of the regular season. Wirfs aggravated a right knee injury in the offseason, re-aggravated a right knee injury in the offseason that forced him to miss only one game in 2024, but it was 2 games, 1 and a quarter. We'll get into that. The Bucs scheduled arthroscopic surgery for Wirfs Tuesday, and some additional minor damage was found. Wirfs will likely begin the season on the physically unable to perform list, PUP list, et cetera, et cetera. So not good for the Buccaneers. And with Tristan Wirfs, this injury doesn't just stem from this offseason. Go back in time last year in that November, I think it was a week 10 game against the San Francisco 49ers. Wirfs left the game in the second quarter, would not return, revealed that he had an MCL sprain. At first, the worst was thought, but after MRI, it revealed that it wasn't as bad as originally thought of. The Bucs had a bye week the following week in week 11, but he did miss the next game against the New York Giants in week 12. In that game, Justin School started in his place, and it was actually the Bucs just ran roughshod on them. He returned in week 13, but had that big brace against the Carolina Panthers, finished out the season, and we didn't really hear much of the injury. A lot of us, I don't think, even connected the dots at the time back to his injury during the season with that right knee brace. I remember talking to a lot of the local beat reporters, and we talked about the knee brace. Hopefully it's not, Bull said it's just precautionary, but we didn't even be like, oh, is that the same knee that he injured? Maybe some people did, but I didn't have that conversation with anybody. So it wasn't really at the forefront. Everyone, all systems go. Wirfs is going to be good. He's sitting out of minicamp and OTAs just for precautionary. Goes in for this little cleanup surgery, and they find a little bit more that was done. Why it was done now is the question, right before training camp starts in 15 days. That's the bigger question here. I don't have any facts. No, I don't think anyone out there in the Bucs beat has any facts right now. If they do, they're holding them close to the vest. But what I believe happened is the training staff and Wirfs wanted to try to rehab this thing on its own, wanted to avoid surgery, did not want to have to take that route because he did not want to miss time. Obviously, learning a new variation of this is still the same, but there'll be different protection calls and different things. Like things will be called different. And Wirfs, he was upset last year, holding out with that contract. We talked about. He's like, I'm like looking out the window at the gym, peering at my buddies, just want to go play football with my friends. He's not the one that wants to miss any time at all. So, the Bucs said, all right, gave him an MRI. It appears they found a little bit of whatever damage that was going on. Said, all right, we'll get a quick scope, get him in there. It's very invasive surgeries, in and out for those types of things. But then they found that additional damage. And then that's when they're like, well, we're here. We need to take care of this. So I think that's what I think happened. I'm not 100% sure because the facts haven't come out yet. But if I had to bet money, that's kind of why now, because that's the biggest question. Why is he getting surgery 15 days before or 16 days before training camp starts? That's the big question. And I think that's the reason why. It makes the most sense. It makes really the only sense to me. If he knew he needed surgery, Tristan's not going to be one to go and not get it, if he doesn't think he needs it, if he thinks he's going to rehab. So this is a guy where if anyone on the team, and there's a lot of guys on the team you can say this about, but football is the biggest thing in his life other than his family and his religion and everything like that. But that's the biggest thing. And he wants to be out there. So I think that's the reason why. Question is now, what does that leave? Where does that leave the Bucs? Before I get to that, Buccaneers Bliss over on YouTube says depends on how long he's out. How long he's going to be out for. Not comfortable without tackle depth, especially blindside. Yeah, especially with Baker. Baker has that tendency to just kind of play off script a lot. And Wirfs is really good. He's got great recovery. He's really good at being able to just take his guy completely out of the problem. So if Baker needs to go off script, he's not worrying about anyone coming from the blind side to try to get him. I think Wirfs has only let up like 2 sacks in the last 2 years with Baker. Like he doesn't let up sacks. So you're going from that. What's next is Charlie Heck. And the Bucs signed him in free agency this year after they lost Justin School. Justin School went to Minnesota in free agency because Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, is going to be missing time there. And it was a quick path for him to get starting playing time, and put more on tape, and that he can be a guy and someone can give him maybe an opportunity to compete for a left tackle or right tackle job next year. That was his mindset. Hindsight's 2020. I'm sure he would have loved to stay here if he knew that he had that opportunity as well. Darrisaw's predicted to probably miss like the first 4 or 6 games of the season, and it looks like Tristan Wirfs, who, it's we'll see what happens, because if they put him on the PUP list anytime between now and like the first week of training camp, I think training camp starts like the 23rd. If he's on the PUP list by that Monday, then he's out for the first 4 games of the season, no matter what. They can't bring him back. He could be out longer, as Bud Cannibal said, it depends on how long he's going to be out. He could be out longer, but all intents and purposes, 10 weeks, I think he's got until week 1. Until week 5 of the regular season. So maybe even more than that, about 10 weeks he's got to rehab. So about 2.5 months. If he can get back for them, that's great. But everyone heals differently. Tristan, we've seen obviously last year, the MRI only missing two weeks after injuring it. He might recover faster. So if he's not placed on PUP, I would say by Monday, what's the date there? I think is it 29th, maybe 29th or 30th, somewhere around there. If he's not on PUP, the Bucs really like where he's been the last 3 weeks of recovery. It sounds like it's not going to happen. The Bucs need to bring another body and another experienced body, preferably. And we'll get into the depth and and what's out there, potentially maybe a trade scenario, maybe free agent pickup. But it's going to be interesting to see if they think he can have the ability to be ready, even if by week 2 or 3. If they put him on PUP right away, they're like, no, he's at least out to week 4. Like, that's what it is. If they think he can be back by week 2 or week 3, because ultimately you want him back for week 4 against the Eagles. I mean, you want him back for week 2 or week 1 even, you definitely want him. But when you look at the first 4 teams and, Atlanta, everyone's like, Atlanta, their pass rush sucks. They did spend 2 first-round picks and sign Leonard Floyd with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. So they've got a tandem there. We don't really know what 2 of them look like. We know Leonard Floyd's steady. He brings it. He's going to give you at least 5 to 6, 7, 8 sacks a year. And then week 2 is Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Like, you're screwed there. And then the following week is the Jets, and I know the Jets, right? But that defensive line is really good. They got Quinnen Williams. They've got Will McDonald. They've got Jermaine Johnson, who's coming back from an ACL, but he should be good to go by week 3. That's a scary. And then the Eagles bring the Eagles. So if they think that he'll be ready before then I wouldn't expect to see him on the PUP list at the very start of camp. And if they do put him on there, that pretty much tells you that, hey, this is going to be 4 weeks no matter what. They don't feel like he's going to be able to, they don't want to rush him, and they don't feel like he's going to be able to put on the field. So that's going to thrust, again, going back, circling around the long way, like I always do, Charlie Heck. Charlie Heck is the guy who is going to step in and take over for Tristan Wirfs throughout those first 4 weeks, unless the Bucs sign someone they feel is can provide better starting experience than him. There are a few guys out there, but that's who they're going to go with. The thing about Charlie Heck is he has just 1 start at left tackle and just 80 snaps total at the position. They both came at the end of the season for the Niners when Trent Williams shut it down. And it overall of his career, let's just say he's in the same boat that kind of Justin School was. He has certainly not performed. And again, he didn't have high expectations, but he's been a scrape by swing tackle that he's not a guy that you're like comfortable feeling, if someone goes down. Like Josh Wells, you felt pretty comfortable about him going down. After that Lions game, Justin School kind of he settled in and you felt more comfortable with him there as well. But Charlie Heck isn't someone who I think gives a lot of Bucs fans a lot of faith. I don't think he's someone who a lot of Bucs fans are like, oh, we're good. We got Charlie Heck. He's gonna be it. Now, killer stash. Obviously, I can't stop. I got to say that first. Charlie Heck has a killer mustache. But the results have been less than desirable. Like I said, last year, he started 1 game at left tackle, came in the early onset of the game as well, week 17 and 18. Didn't really wow anybody. He let up a sack in 5 hurries, 6 pressures overall, and had a penalty in just those 2 games. And the litany of that, the sack, the 4 hurries, the 5 pressures, and that 1 penalty all came in that same game in week 18 against the Cardinals, his former team, who he was with for most of the season there. Pass blocking grade, not great, 39.4, 55.8 run block game. Pass grade in that game that he started. In the game he came in, pass blocking was a little bit better, 65.1, 47.6 run blocking grade. But he's a guy who, throughout his career really hasn't been someone who I would say is reliable as someone who you feel really comfortable with coming in. What the heck? Right. You look at his overall, his average of his 5 years, he's got just a 46.54 run blocking game, and he's got a 57.54 pass blocking game. So not very good. And there is some cause for question and concern. However, before you start losing your mind, the one thing I will say is the Buccaneers have a very good offensive line coach in Kevin Carberry and his assistant in Brian Picucci. Kevin Carberry, also the run game coordinator. He's done a lot since he got here last year, and including getting Cody Mock to a level that we saw glimpses of his rookie year, but just last year he was so much better and so good. And I really think he's got a chance to be one of the top 15, top 20 guards in the league, regardless of side. Luke Gedicke took another big step. I know he missed a ton of games, but when he came back, man, he looked like a top 5 right tackle in the league, if not top 3. Like he's going to be a baller for the Bucs, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an extension. Graham Barton had some rookie mistakes, hit the rookie wall. I know, the playoff game, obviously, but I think as a rookie coming in from playing center in your freshman year to playing tackle to coming in and playing center and having to adjust to a new position, a new scheme, a new town, a new everything, whatever, and having to go against some of the best defensive tackles in the league to start your career. I think the sky's the limit for him. And Ben Bredesen got much better too, with some consistency. Still wasn't great. Got a modest extension from the Buccaneers to hang around. And that's someone who there is a bigger spotlight on too, and we'll talk to him. So about him in a minute too. So just the ability that Carbs and Pacucci have been able to get out of their offensive linemen. Again, the Bucs are very, very comfortable with Elijah Klein backing up anywhere in the interior. They really like him. They feel good about some of the guys who got an undrafted free agency that they feel like they can groom for the future. And again, we've already seen big strides by some of those guys with, Jake Majors, the undrafted center. He's been taking all the number 2 reps. And, obviously we'll see more of Ben Chukwuma, the big left tackle that they got in undrafted free agency they spent all their money on. So we'll see what those guys do and if they're in the mix. But the fact of the matter is the Bucs really have faith in Kevin Carberry and Brian Pacucci. And unlike last year, when school was just kind of thrust into a game, they've got all training camp to get Heck up to speed. And he's going to have to go against Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby. And he's going to get first-team reps against first-team defense, and he'll get 2 joint practices as well to get himself ready. So it'd be different if this happened like at the end of training camp. For it to happen before training camp starts, I'm sure Carbs has already been in touch with Heck. I'm sure Pacucci's already, and they've already said, hey, game plan, this is what you're doing. Get ready. You're our left tackle for right now. This is what it's going to be. So not woe is me and doom and gloom, I don't think right now, but there's certainly some cause for concern. You're missing probably the best offensive lineman in the game right now, if not definitely top 5, and that's going to hurt you no matter who you are. So right now it's just a kind of wait and see type of situation because there's really nothing they can do except wait and see. So we'll see how that all turns out. And if Heck can, and we'll keep you updated through training camp, obviously, if he's struggling or if he's improving and stuff like that. So you guys will be updated all throughout training camp on the progression of Heck. And if he looks like he can be the guy, because behind them, again, they only have a few guys, Ben Chukwuma, Silas Dianzi, who's been injured most of his time here. Luke Haggard can play tackle, but these are undrafted guys who have been kind of on the practice squad and they feel comfortable with them, like in case of emergency break glass. But these aren't guys who are going to threaten or push a guy like Charlie Heck to secure that spot. And I think, there's 2 tactics there. Is either you go out and you look for a veteran, whether that's through the trade market, whether that's through free agency, what's left there, and you bring in competition to try to push Heck, kind of like they did last year. Although it's a different situation because it was for the starting left guard position. But you bring in another guy who's done it before and who, if all else fails, the Heck isn't the guy, then you have someone who's been there before. There's not many of them left. And maybe that's the way you do it. And you breed that competition and you try to get the best out of them that way. Or maybe you just say, hey, look, we brought you in here for a reason. We really like you. We think you can handle this. And you just let him go and say, hey, we're going to put all of our time and effort in trying to get you up to where we need you. And no one's going to block like Tristan Wirfs, but to where we need you. And we'll see which way that they go as far as how they handle this. I think they'll probably definitely bring in a tackle, but at what caliber? That's the question, right? That's the question is what kind of caliber tackle are you going to bring in? So there's not a lot out there. I'll tell you that. George Fant is still available. He last started, played last year for the Seahawks. He's got tons of starts under his belt. He's 33. He's not going to cost you a ton of money. And he's someone who can start if you need to. It's not going to be pretty, but it might be better than that. There's really not much. There's some right tackles out there. And again, I'm not too familiar with them if they can play left tackle or not, but there are some guys out there. Jermaine Afidi from the Browns played a lot of right tackle. Chris Hubbard from the Giants, both right tackles. Can they play left? It doesn't look pretty out there. I took a look earlier. I think Donovan Smith is still available, maybe. Like if you want to reach for the past and bring someone in. Obviously, he knows a lot of the guys. Logan Bruss from the Titans. He played 17.9% of the snaps last year. Younger too, only 26. I wonder if Royce O'Neal signed with somebody. Because they had him last year, and he might be listed as a guard though. They had him last year. They feel like he can play tackle as well. Because if something were to happen to anybody else, that's the guy who they would have put in last year at tackle if they needed to. They used him as a jumbo tackle sometimes last year on occasion. So if he's still available, that might be someone they can look at. I don't know if he is though. But again, there's not much. Maybe make a trade, Matt Pert or something like that. Maybe he's a guy who comes up. I don't know where they go here because again, there's really not a lot of options at this point. And certainly not for a starting level left tackle. Royce Newman, I think it was, right? He signed with the Cardinals, so he's off the board. But the Bucs did like him as someone who can step in and play tackle, good size, 6'5", 310. So he's not even available for them. I know, but Cannibal says stop it. The cupboard is bare, my man. The cupboard is bare. There's not a lot out there. So likely the Bucs roll with Heck, and they see what these young kids can do. It's like, now's your time to step up, because we're going to, and it also opens up what they do with the offensive lineman position if Wirfs does go on PUP, which is most likely if he goes on that physical unable to perform list. Again, most likely that's going to happen. But it opens up another chance for one of these other offensive linemen to make the roster for the time being, or maybe then they keep an extra guy that they're going to cut a different position. We'll also have to stay tuned too with the Chris Godwin. Does he go on PUP? Does he have to go on IR? We'll see how that all works out too. But serious, it's a no for Donovan Smith. You just leave Kate Otten over there the whole time. I don't know what would be better right now, Donovan Smith or Charlie Heck. I think Donovan Smith retired. Anyway, so moot point. That's probably why he's not on the list of free agencies. But if they called him back, I don't know how much love he still has for this organization. Certainly not a lot of love for the fan base, I'm sure. I don't know how much love they have for him. So I think, again, most likely they roll with Charlie Heck. Maybe they go with like a bottom of the roster guy. Maybe they make a trade, spare parts. Give us, your left tackle who you're probably not going to keep, but it's got some starting or some experience, and we'll give you Trey Palmer, logjam for logjam. Maybe something like that happens. We'll have to see. But until then, they're rolling with Heck. And Wirfs' loss isn't just like shuffle who's going to be the guy. It's what are the Bucs going to do offensively? And that's where, right out the gate, Josh Grizzard has his first big test, right? What are you going to do? How are you going to keep the offense moving when you're missing arguably probably the best player on the team, but probably your second most important offensive piece, Baker being the first. Can't do much with a quarterback, but quarterback can't do much if he's not protected, and there's no one better at protecting than Tristan Wirfs. I mean, over the last 2 years at left tackle, there's literally nobody better than Tristan Wirfs. He has a outrageous his his, what is it? Pass protection grade is like a 92.8 first. And like, if you count his right tackle years, like from that time, he was sixth. Like, there's really nobody better than him. And for the Bucs to lose him is huge in the way the Bucs are going to run this offense. And again, Josh Grizzard faces his first test. What does he do? Because I just read you the numbers of Charlie Heck. Unless he can improve, and again, he does have time and he's working with very, very good coaches, he hasn't been great at running the ball. And normally, if you're missing your best pass protector and one of your best offensive linemen in your blind side, what you want to do is run the ball. But 46.54 run blocking grade over his 4 years of his career average is not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. I remember people were screaming a couple years ago, why aren't they running to the left side? It was like, they're going to be screaming, why aren't you running to the right side? Because again, like Wirfs is such a difference maker, and has such an impact on games that Ben Bredesen is going to be affected by it too. And again, Bredesen was much better last year than he especially was the year before with the Giants, being able to settle in one position and get used to it, and playing next to Tristan Wirfs. So he's got a spotlight on him, right? Conveniently enough, his best game of the season last year when Wirfs was out in the week 13, but there's a spotlight on him too, and he's got to be everything he was last year and better. And the hope is Graham Barton is going to be better. Because if it's not, then there's going to be a problem. If you have to worry about Heck and Bredesen now, because Wirfs was covering up some stuff, and obviously Bredesen's a good player, but the Wirfs was definitely, you're not going to try him. So like it's going to be interesting to see how he handles this too. And all that again goes back to Grizzard and how he's going to call this offense. You want to focus on the run usually when your left tackle's out, but now you got to figure kind of how are we going to keep balance running the ball, whether that's both sides, left side, right side, whatever. And how are we going to run it effectively? Because we don't have Tristan Wirfs in there. So that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. Do they go to more quick short passes? I would think so. I know they want to get the deep ball going, but maybe that's something that you can't really afford right now without Tristan Wirfs there blocking for Baker Mayfield. Maybe it has to be more of that quick short passes, get the ball out in under 2 seconds. Boom, boom. Move the ball, dink and dunk, get into your playmakers' hands and have them go. Having guys like Emeka Egbuka and Bucky Irving and, Devin Culp, and if Tez Johnson makes a team, those guys who, even Jalen McMillan to a bet, who are kind of shifty and quick and make sharp, quick cuts and can make guys miss, especially like, that's what you're going to probably want to do is dump it down. You're going to probably use that screen game a lot more too those first 4 weeks as an extension of that run game, to keep teams off balance. And you're not going to roll out the jet sweeps to the left side, and you're not going to, you're certainly not going to do any flea flickers or anything like that, So it's going to change some of the things that he wants to do. It might change how aggressive he might want to be, but make no doubt about it. Tristan Wirfs is not a player that should be like, oh, we'll just plug so-and-so in and our offense will be the same. No. Tristan Wirfs is someone that teams, especially defensive, front seven, those guys are studying him and game planning around him. And now you don't have that. You don't have that, and that's going to change things. So it'll be his first test to kind of see what he can do. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the offense opened up when Wirfs got back. But the Bucs really just need to be competitive in those games because I still think they can score enough points. They have enough weapons where when they go out there and line up, there's going to be a mismatch, and it's just on Baker to find it, and it's on Baker to find it quick, and these routes develop quick, and to get these guys because there's going to be mismatches for them to exploit on almost every play, especially when Godwin's back. If Godwin's back week 1, I feel a lot better about this than I do right now. But if Godwin's back week 1, I think they can still keep up. I do. I think they can keep up with the Falcons. I think they can keep up with the Jets. The Eagles and and the Texans, those are two teams that give you pause. And it's not just because they can move the ball on offense, but they've got some serious damage doers on that defensive line. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are no slouches, and you've seen it in the past. It don't matter who Philly's got in there. No Josh Sweat, no Brandon Graham, no XYZ. Whoever they lost they lost Bryce Huff. I think they traded. Like, don't matter. They're going to find a way to get pressure. And they've got some guys in the middle that you've got to devote resources to anyways, especially with Jalen Carter and then big old Jordan Davis. So they're going to get after you. So it's really kind of, how can you evolve? How can you change this offense so that it's not too different, but effective how you need it to be, and then seamless when Tristan comes back in, when Wirfs is back ready to go. So, and then expanded upon. So he's got his work cut out for him. It's going to be interesting what he does. Another, kind of tidbit is like protector of the year. Tristan Wirfs was a favorite for it. And now that kind of goes out the window. Or does it? Like, he's going to miss 4. If he does miss just 4 games, like he missed 2.5 games or 1.5 game last year, like, is 4 games too much? Or what if he goes on a tear? Or what if the Bucs, make it deep in the playoffs? Like, those things count too, If the offense, when you watch it, when Wirfs comes back and you're looking at it and saying, wow, this offense is night and day difference. And it's not just by stats, it's by the eye test and watching Wirfs. Like, I'll be interested to see who votes for this, the protector of the year. I wish the offensive lineman, I wish they made it like an offensive lineman vote and they just selected like one person for every team. Can't vote for yourself. And really kind of just like, and not like a guy who's like, oh, I'm going to vote for my buddy, but like someone who's like takes it serious, and like will put in the time. But it'll be interesting to see how they pick it up. But like, if it's noticeable, and I mean, he still made first team All-Pro last year, missing a game and a half, game in 3 quarters. Like, is it still out of the realm of possibility? I don't know. But it's Tristan Wirfs, so I wouldn't be surprised. He's on a different level, and if he can come back and pick up right where he left off, and then improve from there, you get even better. And who knows? So, but that's it. I think the Bucs are going to be fine. Again, 2-2 is all you need out of that. Originally, 3-1, you really want to come out of there with that. But the biggest 2 games to win are week 1 and week 4. You want to win that division game against Atlanta. You want to win week 4. The other 2 are non-conference games. Yeah, it would suck to lose them. But the conference games matter more. The NFC South division game matters more. Those are the things. And against the Eagles, it's probably going to matter more against seeding down the line potentially. Like, those are the 2 games you really need to win. I think they probably split it. And then they probably dropped to Houston, Monday Night Football, primetime, on the road. Danielle Hunter, again, that defense is good. Their offense is good. That's going to be a tough one for them to win. They probably beat the Jets just because the Jets are just awful. But I think they can stay afloat. It's not the end of the world. It's not doom and gloom. All right. The Bucs are going to be fine. They will. As long as Tristan doesn't miss like half the season, I think they're going to be fine. If it's just 4 weeks, I think they can get by. They did it. If they can get by without their top 3 receivers for 2-3 games, and obviously Godwin for the rest of the season, I think they can get by without a left tackle, even if he is probably the best left tackle in all of football. So next week, 2 shows. We'll do 1 live, and then the other episode will come out probably Friday. And we'll look into the offense and defense because training camp is the following week. We're going to start. Got a very special guest coming on soon. Someone we just actually talked about a little bit. So we'll get him on. I have to continue the streak if you guys know what I'm talking about. So we'll get him on, get his thoughts on the Wirfs injury, how his offense might change and all that stuff. We'll have him on. I'm hoping not next week, the week after that, right before training camp starts or on the eve of training camp. So we'll get that taken care of. And then, next week we'll do offense, defense, training camp battles. That's going to be fun. I'll also have that series coming out in written form over on Bucs Game Day. We'll have that. We'll also have what we did last 2 weeks, 2 episodes, ranking the NFC South. Tons of stuff up there too. Right now, go check it out. And then here every Wednesday, 7:00, we're going to go to 2 days 2 days soon, 30-minute episodes, probably Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe Mondays and Fridays. I'll figure out the schedule with football coming back. This is a Lutz Chiefs shirt right here, not a Kansas City Chiefs. Just so you all know, my son plays for the Lutz Chiefs. That's his football team. So we'll see how that all plays out. But again, thank you guys all for tuning in to another episode of the Pirate Parlay Podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, I'm JC Allen. You can find me on X right there. We'll be back next week, and we'll be breaking down training camp battles. 15 days away. So like, subscribe, turn notifications. We're out of here. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.